This is not a drill.
This is real.
Get real.
Get real with Ralph.
You are listening to Get Real with Ralph. Get Real with Ralph.
On AM 1050 WLIP.
Darling, I know that good. I've seen it once in a while. I can soothe your soul. I promise I can make you smile. Don't you know it takes one to know?
Good evening and welcome to Get Real with Ralph. I am your humble host, Ralph Nudie, coming to you live from the studios of AM 1050 WLIP in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Gurnee, Illinois, and simulcast live from Kenosha to the Canary Islands and all across the world via our YouTube channel at GetRealWithRalph.com. That's GetRealWithRalph.com. Or you can tune in on Facebook at Facebook.com/Ralph Nudie. First and foremost, I want to give a happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, and all of you that have mothers out there as well. Mothers are definitely one of the most special things we all have. Without them, there wouldn't be an us. A lot going on in the news, and we're going to tackle some of it. Not as much as usual, though, because we have some very special guests today, and we're going to be talking about the resurgence of manufacturing in the United States of America, which I think is a pretty exciting subject to touch. Thank you, folks, for tuning in, as always, on Get Real with Ralph, and we try to attack the issues of the day, whether they be national, on the state level, or even on the local level, and so much is happening on all of those levels here that we're not going to be able to tackle all of them, but I want to touch on some of them before we go to our first break, and then when I come back, I'm going to introduce some people to our listeners here who are really at the forefront of the solution to many of the problems that I believe that we are encountering as we speak right now. Anybody who's been listening to this program for any length of time, and especially since we've gone under quarantine, knows that I place a great deal of blame for what we're dealing with right now at the feet of the communist Chinese government. But I also put a lot of the blame right here at home. For far too long, we have been complacent. On top of being complacent, we have chased profits, we have chased cheap goods, and we haven't thought much about how to invest in our future as a country. As a matter of fact, we've been living off of the glory of our past, while corporate America is investing in other countries. Our media groups are investing in other countries. Our tech sector is investing in other countries. And we've been bled dry here all the way around when it comes to jobs, to the point that we have become mostly a service sector economy. And as all of you are feeling the pain right now, when you are a service sector economy and you suddenly lose the ability to use your service sector, which is what's going on right now, businesses being shut down, you finally realize that if you're a nation that doesn't make or produce more than it's consuming, at some point in time, you're going to hit a brick wall. We have felt that brick wall over the past 6 weeks as our supply chains have been disrupted, as we have scurried to get what we thought were going to be much needed medical supplies and information out of China. The Chinese government has a habit of lying to the rest of the world. This is not the first time this has happened, and the Chinese government has a history of being irresponsible when it comes to infectious disease. And we can stand here and wave our fingers and point them at them, but at the end of the day, it is going to be on us, the American people, and the ingenuity of the American people to find ways to bring our industry back to our country in a cost-effective way that doesn't disrupt our economy. Without doing so, we'll see more of the same of what we've seen in the last 6 weeks. It's exciting and pleasing to see that people are starting to wake up in this country, at least. There has been a litany of physicians who have now stood up to this excessive, what our health departments, what our health experts are calling a quarantine. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, a quarantine is when you take sick people and you keep them away from the healthy so they don't infect them. That's not what we're doing here. This is the first time ever in our country's history that we've quarantined the healthy, that we have put these draconian measures in place that have brought our economy to its absolute knees. But finally, people are starting to wake up. In the absence of data, it made a lot of sense to take a short pause and figure out what was going on. But as the data comes out more and more and more, and we look at the differences between our most populated cities in states that have lockdowns and our most populated cities in states that do not, and we look at the behaviors of what Sweden is doing, and we look at the need to have a herd mentality, it's becoming more important, it's becoming more apparent to more of the experts that if we don't change course with what we're doing pretty quick, we're going to get hit with a second wave of this and not know what hit us. But I feel like the American people are starting to wake up and come along. When we come back, we're going to be talking with two of what I consider the captains of new industry in America. These are entrepreneurs. These are leaders who recognize that a smaller, more nimble corporate America that can produce goods here in this country at a lower cost is a wave of the future. And I think you're going to be very interested in what they have to say. And I'll be bringing them to you right after this break.
Local news from Kenosha and the surrounding area is just a mouse click away. Stay informed. WLIP.com.
Hi, this is Paul Francetic, your local tax resolution specialist. If you own a business, please listen up. When some businesses start having cash flow problems, unfortunately, what they tend to do is hold on to payroll tax deposits. You know, the money meant to go to the government, who does not look kindly on an employer that takes what really is their workers' money and uses it to keep the business afloat. Before you know it, this can snowball. If this situation sounds familiar to you, remember, it's a lot better to be preemptive. Don't wait for the IRS to knock on your door. But if they do, and the tax resolution specialist does not already have your back, just say, I need time to get representation. They are required to cease the conversation, quit asking you questions, and give you time to get the representation you need.
Don't get frantic. Get Francetic. Francetic Tax Resolution. Go to 262tax.com.
Do your company vehicles need an attitude adjustment? Bufflin in Union Grove can turn your vehicles into moving billboards. From full vehicle wraps and fleet lettering to signs, banners, and graphic design, Bufflin in Union Grove makes advertising your business easy. Just take pictures of your vehicle and send it to them. Then they'll digitally superimpose the wrap or logo right on your vehicle so you can see what it'll look like. The whole design can be done through email, so you don't have to leave the house. Check out Bufflin at VehicleWrapsWisconsin.com. That's VehicleWrapsWisconsin.com.
Paid for by Lose Debts. Attention! This is a special message for anyone who has over $10,000 of unsecured debt, such as credit cards, medical bills, and personal loans. If you're struggling to make minimum payments on your debt, then you're not alone. With the average American household owing over $16,000 in credit card debt, it's no wonder why bankruptcies are on the rise. We're here to help you avoid bankruptcy and keep more money in your pocket. Lose Debts offers a unique debt reset program which will dramatically reduce your debt down to a fraction of what you owe and eliminate any interest, getting you debt-free in as little as 24 months. This is not a loan, and there are no upfront fees or out-of-pocket expenses. Speak to our agents now and start fresh at 800-530-7819. We have helped thousands of people with our customized debt reset program. Why not you? You don't pay a dime until we succeed. Call today and see how we can help. 800-530-7819. That's 800-530-7819. Again, 800-530-7819.
Are you looking for the hottest places to have a dinner date or the coolest places to grab a drink and appetizers with friends? Well, 262 Eats has it all. 262 Eats is a local food show that features the best the area has to offer. Watch Ralph Nudie as he samples the food, interviews the owners, and takes you inside and behind the scenes of the favorite places of locals and travelers alike. Be sure to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to win prizes, gift certificates, and get special discount offers. That's 262 Eats.
The following is a public service message from this station and calltorecycle.org. Chances are you already recycle paper, glass, and plastic, but it's just as important to recycle used rechargeable batteries. They're the kind you find in power tools, cell and cordless phones, laptop computers, digital cameras, MP3 players, and other cordless electronics. You can recycle used rechargeable batteries at any of the thousands of retail stores that have joined the nonprofit Call to Recycle program. Those include home improvement centers, electronics stores, and other retailers all across America. To find a participating drop-off location, call toll-free 877-2-RECYCLE or visit us online at calltorecycle.org. Recycling used rechargeable batteries is easy, it's free, and it's a great way to do something good for the environment. Just remember, if it's rechargeable, it's recyclable.
Kenosha's conversation happens here. Weekdays 3 to 5. Remembering Kenosha with Lou Rigotti. Live and local radio. AM 1050 WLIP. AM 1050 WLIP. Kenosha County Radar Weather. Brought to you by
Good Value Pharmacy, offering free local delivery. 3 locations in Kenosha and now open in Racine. GoodValueRx.com.
Tonight, rain likely, possibly mixing with snow later in the evening, then gradually ending. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a low of 34. Monday, mostly sunny with a high near 49. And then Tuesday, sunny with a high near 52. Weather twice an hour or when severe weather strikes on Kenosha's radio station, AM 1050 WLIP.
Get Real with Ralph.
On AM 1050.
We are back on the Get Real with Ralph show. That is a little bit of Ozzy Osbourne, Mama, I'm Coming Home, for all of the mothers out there. And as I mentioned in my opening monologue, today I have some exciting guests with me that I've come across really by accident in the beginning, but I'm really glad I did. I'm glad I met these two gentlemen because they're doing something that I've been talking about on this program for a very long time and really ramped up talking about over the last 6 weeks, as we have found ourselves so dependent on foreign manufacturing and foreign goods for everything that we do. And these two gentlemen are doing something about it, both of them. Cole Hatfield is with a company called Little Bear Manufacturing, and he consults manufacturers how to create processes that are efficient enough that they don't require as many people so they can be brought back into the United States. And he consults companies in several different industries, and I'm going to let him explain himself to you when it comes to that. And James Breyer is on the forefront of a new electric vehicle company that is going to bring us electric vehicles for the rest of us. Of course, many people are already driving the Volt, or maybe they're driving the Tesla because they want the sports car. But the number one vehicle that Americans are still driving are trucks, and light-duty trucks and sport utility vehicles. And he has found a way to bring that niche into the electric vehicle market, and I think that he's going to come in hot. I really do. So with that, I'd like to introduce the two of them. Cole, James, we should be able to hear you guys. Welcome to the program. James, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about Hercules EV, which is your vehicle manufacturing company, and this niche that you're looking to fill here.
Yeah, thanks, Ralph. So Hercules EV is an electric performance vehicle company integrating high capability, and luxury in a niche market segment. So we see performance trucks and off-road trucks being a growing segment in North America, particularly. People love their large vehicles, right? And so we look at this as an aspirational product, kind of the merging of a supercar with your utility vehicle. And so first version is the Alpha. It's 1,000 horsepower, 4-motor EV system, and it'll really just light up your adrenaline. I mean, it's a high performance, high power, but still very luxurious and comfortable product. So that's our core product niche. But we really see this as an opportunity for add a lot of fun and excitement towards electric vehicles. They're not just about being clean.
Now, I had a chance to talk with you earlier today as we were prepping for the show, and you took me to the website, which is HerculesEV.com. So for those of you that are listening at home, you want to see what these look like. I was stunned by what a great-looking truck you've designed here. And, of course, design and looks isn't everything. You need a truck that's going to be able to get the job done. Tell us a little bit about the power. What kind of power does a truck like this have?
So this particular your truck is very powerful, actually more powerful than probably most people can fully comprehend, because what they're used to is a gasoline truck with a transmission. And so with our 4-motor EVs, we can put 1,000 horsepower to the pavement. And that's at 0 speed. So you can get all your torque, which is about 12,000 foot-pounds of torque, directly to the road. And that's at all speeds, up to about 85 miles an hour. So you'll throw your head back and spin the wheels and screech the tires really at any speed up to about 80 miles an hour.
Wow, that's impressive. And you said you have 4 motors. Explain to the listeners why your vehicle has 4 motors.
So the 4 motors are really about control and performance. So it allows us to do full 4-wheel torque vectoring and active stability control in a dynamic way. And so what we've done is it allows each wheel to apply torque, exactly how much torque it needs for a given condition. So if you're going around a curve or a corner, the inside wheels will rotate slightly slower than the outside wheels. And so what that allows is for the computer controller to understand what your heading and direction is, your intent, and then keep you basically hugging the road during any event, whether it's an intended event or an unintended event, like an ice or a slip situation.
And this is going to put you at
max power at all times.
This is going to put you at a severe advantage over a standard 4-wheel drive vehicle with a traditional transmission, where you have to have a system to allow for that slippage. Because when you have a gas power motor and a transmission, if you try to do that on dry pavement, you can cause a lot of damage. But with a vehicle such as yours, because you have 4 separate motors and an intelligent system, obviously you can take a corner in 4-wheel drive on dry pavement at just about any speed, and it's going to give you that additional control that you could never get from a gas powered vehicle.
Right, and it really changes the paradigm into an all-the-time all-wheel drive at optimum torque and optimum power. So we're optimizing continuously, as opposed to using like an open differential in a traditional vehicle, where one wheel does spin slower than the other, but it also loses its power. And so while you're trying to apply power or retard power, like in a braking event, you can do braking and acceleration at the same time on different wheels as needed.
And your braking is also done by those motors?
So it's supplemented by the motors. So primary braking, initial braking is regenerative. So that means it uses the electric machines to put that energy back in the battery. And then at a certain amount of brake pedal application, then the traditional calipers will adhere and then brake the vehicle to a stop. But the electric machine does most of the work.
And this is an idea that you said you came up with a couple of Christmases ago, it sounds like, or at the day after Christmas a couple of years ago, correct?
So yeah, I've been in the industry for about 25 years in electric vehicle development programs, and had been through a number of very interesting projects, but never really something that was quite as near and dear to where I see the industry going. And so in 2018, the day after Christmas, I was watching the snow come down and thinking about, kind of where I was headed and what we were doing, and, just seeing what was going on in the industry itself, and said, it's time. The technology's there, the market's there, it's been proven over and over, and let's apply this to big vehicles that people actually want, that are really fun to drive. The ownership experience is better, really tailor it to what people want. And the technologies in manufacturing have also advanced to a point where small volume manufacturers can now compete with the big guys.
And that's what you plan on doing, is being a boutique provider of vehicles that fit a niche that people want, as opposed to trying to go head to head with the big guy. You're able to keep the costs down so that you're competitive price-wise without having to mass produce.
Correct. And so we're competitive price-wise, depending on where you consider competitive pricing to be. But as we've seen the industry, the amount of luxury that's going into large SUVs and pickups is increasing. People really want kind of one product to drive, and they want it to be fun. They also want it to be utilitarian to some extent, but with a nice level of equipment. And so what we looked at is that marketplace and said, they can get that if you like a cowboy motif. So, you like to be Wild West, or you're from Texas or Montana, that's great. But there's some urban folks that would like to have that kind of same thing going on. And so we're bringing something that's a little more contemporary in styling, a little more European interior, and then marrying that with a very capable platform that really can do anything they want. It's got great ground clearance, great off-road capability, but the on-road capability and control is just fantastic.
Now, of course, you're entering the truck space as a pioneer in the electric vehicles, because that really hasn't been done on this level before. One of the things that truck owners do end up wanting is towing capacity. And from what I understand, you have a pretty unique solution for that as well, correct?
Yes. And so the towing capacity in ours, like I mentioned, 12,000 plus foot-pounds of torque, it can pretty much tow anything you want. But being a battery vehicle, we don't promise infinite towing, but we do have an option coming in you bring in a fuel cell range extender for those who do heavy towing very frequently. It will basically use gaseous hydrogen and allow them to fill it up just like a regular gas tank. And so where there is a hydrogen infrastructure in place in California, in the Southwest, et cetera, and over the next 5 years, California and the federal government have committed to increasing the number of fuel cell stations, the hydrogen stations, to about 2,500 stations in the western states. So there should be enough infrastructure there. If you are a real heavy hauler, this truck will not only do the work, but it can go as far as they want.
Hey, I've been saying for years that hydrogen is one of the most underutilized technologies that we have in this country. There's so much we can do with hydrogen power, and it's pretty easy to acquire. You have some trouble with stability, but that's gotten better at being able to keep the hydrogen stable now. But as far as acquiring the hydrogen, that's one of the easiest resources that we can get at, because you literally take water and it gets turned into hydrogen, which then gets liquefied so that it ends up being more stable. Am I correct in that assertion?
That's correct. And so the biggest challenge with hydrogen is the cost. And so it isn't yet cost competitive with gasoline. It's getting there. But infrastructure will help that. One of the interesting things is the natural gas infrastructure that the U.S. already has is already compatible with hydrogen in certain saturations. So in a natural gas pipeline, for example, you can pipe a concentration of, let's say, 20% hydrogen around the country as needed. So, and then strip that off. Or to your point, using a reformer technology, which allows it to, with energy, electrical energy, convert pure water into hydrogen, compress that, and then use that for the fuel.
Gotcha. And I'm sure you're partnering up with plenty of other resource providers and finding ways to do that more effectively over time.
Yes. And so what we're doing is focusing on the demand side, meaning if you have applications that will use hydrogen in medium duty trucks, heavy light duty trucks and medium duty trucks, and then in recreational mobility products, that will drive the demand so that there's more investment in the infrastructure. And so we're looking at it from our point of view as a future proofing. As that market's been promised to take off for about the last 30 years, and we're still kind of 5 years out, just like we have over the course the last 30 years, been 5 years out. We think that it will take hold, especially because Japan and China have jumped into hydrogen in a big way. So we see the technology getting cheaper, the storage mechanisms getting cheaper, and then the methodology for creating the hydrogen becoming cheaper as global adoption happens in parallel to North American adoption.
Wow, how exciting. Now, you have your first vehicles are going to be coming off of your assembly line sometime in the fall, you said, correct?
Late 2021. So I wouldn't characterize it as a fall because it's a fall plus a year.
Fall of 21. Gotcha. Okay. So you plan on being in production in 21 and starting to roll vehicles off in fall of 21. And you're going to start this. You're going to start this small and right as a boutique offering with a couple thousand vehicles a year. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so we're looking at it as a boutique offering. It's a bit of a niche product to start, but as adoption happens, we do plan to cap our capacity to stay in that niche realm because we want the customer to have the ability to have on-demand customization. And so we prefer to do more customization and personalization on, like I said, to order, as opposed to just offering a mass production vehicle. There's others out there that are good at that. They've been doing it for 100 years.
Sure. And instead of competing with them at their own game, you're creating your own game.
Trying to create my own game, exactly.
And that's right. Now one of the consultants that you have worked with to help you get to this point along the way is Cole Hatfield, who is on as well. He's a manufacturing consultant. Cole, I want to welcome you to the program as well. And it was Cole that introduced you and I. And I understand that Cole is really consulting on the manufacturing process in a lot of different industries, not just the automotive, including medical, military, and some other stuff as well. Cole, welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here as well.
Thank you for having me, Ralph. Appreciate it.
And you operate a company called Little Bear Manufacturing. Tell us a little bit about your company and what it does.
Sure. Just about close to 2 years ago, I created this company to help to consult for exactly what kind of your opening to the show was. With so many companies outsourcing manufacturing, they lost a lot of that skill set in the United States. I grew up in electronics manufacturing background, and so companies, whether it's like James and Hercules, or whether it's one of my main companies that I work with, which is Loom Optic, I help them try and set up domestic manufacturing capabilities that vertically integrates their supply source and their supply chain all the way through.
Now, vertical integration is something that somebody in the engineering field would understand, but for the people at home, explain to them a little bit about what that vertical manufacturing process is and why it is that process in and of itself is so important to bringing industry back to the United States.
Well, right now we set up, you can't help it, but you have a manufacturing supplies, all the components that go into manufacturing something. We use a tool in economics called specialization, right? And different countries can specialize in supplying different types of parts or components. And you're reliant on sourcing these components from around the world, i.e. Lately you've probably heard of mass being manufactured, where we're dependent on China for melt-blown media. In the United States here, a lot of that capability has been lacking. And so now that we are kind of stranglehold on trying to make mass in the United States, we can't get that raw material, that raw good. Vertical integration means for that, you would actually make your raw good in-house in your manufacturing plant, secure that capability in-house, and then you'd actually make your product and sell it to the customer, and it builds a better security.
So instead of sourcing out the components, you're actually making your own components from the raw material as part of the manufacturing process.
Yes, and it builds. It's risk management basically. You're reducing the risk, but the alternative is sometimes it costs more to do it that way.
And you make up for that cost of more doing it that way by having less people involved in the process. Is that one of the ways that you're able to manage costs?
It's generally reliability. So you when you promise a customer that you're going to deliver and you're going to deliver on time at a high quality, you have to do that. And in the United States here, more and more we've accepted that, well, if we can't get the good and we can't make the shipment on time, well, the customer can wait. The old rule of the customer's always right kind of got thrown out the window. And I just kind of disagree with that. And quite frankly, a lot of my, the people that I consult to and my clients, they agree, and they believe in making American-made products from the ground up and making sure that they deliver high quality and on-time shipment to their customers.
Now, you're consulting with people in several different industries, from medical, masks, to military, to automotive here, James Breyer. And it seems to me, after my conversation with you, with James, with several other people, that there is this trend now, this growing trend, that the thing to do is come back to manufacturing here in the United States. Do you see that being the trend all the way around?
Oh, you bet. I mean, the company, Little Bear here, wouldn't even have the opportunity if it wasn't for the amount of manufacturing coming back to the U.S. And one of my main clients here, which is Loom Optic, I came together with 3 other extremely smart gentlemen to create a next generation epidural system. And we've been able to set up a facility, do the R&D and research, partner with some incredible clinics to be able to do the testing, and everything was done here in the U.S. Even the raw goods, the components, plastic injection molding, everything's done local right here in the Midwest.
And in most cases, it's done right in one location when you're doing these.
Yes, we utilize some R&D and engineering teams out of California, and we have our main development center right in Spring Grove, Illinois. And so we're trying to hire and utilize local talent and local resources.
You don't see this as just a fad, do you? You see that the trend is going to be becoming self-reliant.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, look at what happened with the pharmaceutical industry. As soon as this COVID outbreak hit, we had the Chinese government right away. They said that they were going to start holding up shipments of our pharmaceuticals. We can't rely on that. We have to have some backup systems in the United States here. We have to be able to bring back manufacturing. And the bigger thing is we have to start teaching and educating from the ground up people that have capability. So, I mean, tech colleges, engineering schools, things like that. It's going to be very important in the coming years.
Absolutely. And that's where we met. You were talking about finding talent, of course. I guess this is a question for the both of you. How long do you think it will take for us as a country to get to a place where we are self-reliant again, if we really focus on this as a country? And do you think we have the intestinal fortitude to do it?
I'll let you answer first, Cole.
Okay. I think it really depends on what industry. It's kind of a complex question. Different industries have different things. The biggest thing is going to be cost. Okay. When, a lot of companies have spent billions of dollars now in setting up manufacturing in China. And unless there is a whether it's a political or a financial push to them to come back to the U.S., there's really not going to be, I don't see it happening anytime soon, to be honest with you, even though I'd like to see it. I'll give you examples. As long as you're able to produce pharmaceuticals for less than a penny per pill, and you're able to sell them for, $50 or $100 a pop, and it's a heavy labor industry, you're going to continue to run it in China. if you have politicians, you have political push to be able to, set some regulations of maybe 25-50% of their manufacturing has to be domestic to secure that, then you're actually going to see some movement and things.
So we need to start putting pressure on our leaders to put pressure on businesses and make it financially prohibitive for them to not do this. So you have to have a carrot and a stick in order to make this happen.
Yeah, but we can do it in a smart way, though. And we can, I believe in not just, you don't need to just force the industry. You don't need to club them. You need to work with them strategically to make them want to come back here. Work with them on taxation of the businesses, work with them on wanting to hire talent, work with the different school systems to be able to produce that talent. It comes from a lot of different areas, but if you look at all of them and you build a complete package, then the companies will want to.
I had a leading economist. Oh, James, you go ahead first.
Well, and today, many businesses they're incentivized to seek the lowest cost labor. They're incentivized to offload their resources off their books because they don't get any kind of assistance, or there's no tactical or strategic. It's all tactical, as opposed to a strategic outlook. They're looking at the shorter term profitability and where are they going to put these footprints. And if it is like Cole mentioned, a heavy labor intensive operation, they're going to search out the lowest cost of labor. Where is that? Whether there's stability or not, geopolitical or otherwise, without some incentive to stay here to do that, or find better ways, whether it's through research dollars, whether it's through tax grants, incentives, et cetera, or collaboration with government agencies, I think we're going to see a little bit more emphasis on government contracts going to those who put their resources in secure locations, North America, whether US or Canada, but at least within the continent, as opposed to, COVID has exposed a lot of cracks in the system.
And so this could be a blessing in some ways, obviously not the loss of life, but the fact that we're facing this now, as opposed to 10 years from now or 15 years from now, this could be a real blessing that we got this situation when it happened before it was too late, because it seems like we were on a real slippery slope where we were going to lose all of our manufacturing if we had kept at the pace we were with outsourcing, even as recent as the last couple of years. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Generally, yes, but we have started to see a trend, as we mentioned earlier, of actually electronics, high-tech manufacturing starting to come back to the U.S. Because they can do it with robotics and they can do it with the new technologies and additive manufacturing and other things. But electronics was the first to sort of kind of come back to the U.S., at least directionally. But there's reasons why, or at least geopolitical reasons why, the government has to step in and create some boundaries. There's certain technologies, certain areas of technology that the foreign or non-U.S. entities, they're just taking on the mantle to go push forward faster than we are. And we need to either incentivize companies here to do so, or we will be left behind. And that is a position that the U.S. has not been in a long time. And we do not want to find ourselves at such a disadvantage to other world economies.
We have so many pieces of this that we're failing at. The theft of our intellectual property by Chinese companies, the fact that we've been undercut labor-wise, the fact that labor laws in the United States have made it cost prohibitive to do business here on top of it all. And I think it's been the perfect storm of chasing business out of this country for so long. And you really have to get all of the moving pieces to start looking at things the other way. You can't have, as soon as companies start looking to bring business back into this country, big labor trying to reassert their power and make it cost prohibitive for companies to do so. At the same time, you can't incentivize companies to leave the country by having them manufacture stuff outside the country with no incentive back in the country. So many people, and young people especially, have lost faith in capitalism. they're in a school system that really doesn't understand capitalism, because most people in the school system haven't worked in a capitalist market. They went straight from high school to college to maybe graduate school, and they're teaching. And so that's not an indictment of their character, but it's definitely an indictment of their worldview or their world experience. And I think that it hurts definitely that we don't have more business people in education, and we don't have more education in business, and the two of those integrated, as Cole said before. But I had an economist a couple of weeks ago who disagreed with me when it came to incentivizing businesses to come back, because he was a complete free market capitalist and really believed in the idea that eventually in other countries that the price of labor would rise to the level that it is here, and it would all even out. And that would be true maybe if we had a truly level playing field or a truly capitalist system. But we don't really. The problem with our capitalist system is that we have so much government involvement already, picking winners and losers, and companies really lobbying for whatever it is they want that's going to fatten their bottom line instead of what's right for America. What can our average worker, our average employee, our average American citizen do to make it known that that's not acceptable to them, and really, really have a voice in the fact that we need to start doing business back in this country in a way that their leaders are going to listen to them?
Well, Ralph, it kind of starts from the top down, though. I mean, when you're looking at CEOs that are that know that they're going to be in a position for less than 5 years, 3 to 4 years in the U.S. here, a lot of their decision making is going to be extreme, and so they're going to make every decision to be able to prop up the company's immediate profitability and get the largest return, and make the stockholders as happy as possible, and then they're going to move on to the next company. Once we kind of eliminate that short-sighted viewpoint in a lot of the large industries here and our leaders of industry, I think it's going to start changing long-term thinking of training, getting the right people in the right place, and trying to compete on a global market for long-term, not thinking how to set up a company, a .com or engineering company for a couple of years and then turn around and sell it.
And how do we get them to resist the temptation of selling it?
That's very difficult.
That's a hard one, a hard nut to crack, because in a truly free market system, that would correct itself, right? So the winners would be bought and the losers would go out of business. The unfortunate part is we have foreign entities, governments, that are incentivizing those companies, to leave. They throw as much incentive as they can to get that business development, that economic development in their region, just like we do amongst our cities and states, et cetera. There's very little incentive to stay put or to build a company where you actually live, grow up, and want to live. The incentive is to go to the next town over to get the incentives that they're offering, and whether it's tax breaks or other things. And I think there's just a shift that's required to cut off excessive incentives. Every company, Amazon needs to pay taxes.
Absolutely. How do we fix that?
Near zero. And they've been incentivized to do so. And it is to their benefit and their shareholders' benefit that they got those incentives to move into those locales. However, when does it stop? Because the average employee is footing the bill for everyone. And so either there's going to be a revolution, which I don't actually think will happen, or there will be a massive increase in unionization, which is the only thing the worker has to combat this action on a personal level. We need government intervention to a limited extent to protect that worker. We need Americans working in high-tech fields and in skilled trade fields, both of which, skilled trades are in decline. The high-tech are generally very short-term, but they're supplemented by a lot of H-1N visa candidates because we're not giving our kids enough education and enough to drive them into those fields. So.
Sure, and those H1N visas can be a positive for a company when there's a shortage.
You have that you're not giving kids. Sorry, there was a bit of delay there.
Yeah, there was on my end too. Go ahead, Cole.
What I was saying is there's kind of when the kids are growing up right now, a lot of parents are telling them you have to go for your bachelor's and you have to go for your master's to be able to compete in the world right now, in the business world. And we've all but eliminated all tech schools, from whether it's automotive tech schools, tool and die. That's a huge industry right now that we've pretty much eliminated. And that entire skill set's just gone. You can't even take classes in tool and die as much anymore. CNC operators and things. A lot of this is now on the job training. And these are the types of skills that we've outsourced so much that we have to bring back in. And it's not just that we need to bring them back in because we need them in companies. It's that parents, including myself as a parent, we need to be comfortable to tell our kids that you can make a good life and it's okay to go to a tech school and it's okay to run a CNC machine and I'm still proud of you. Versus right now, a lot of parents I feel out there are, if you don't have your bachelor's or you don't have your master's and you're not, at a Fortune 500 company sitting in an office, then you're not doing good enough.
Yeah, it's almost as if it's a failure for you to be working somewhere welding, making $80 an hour, and that's really that's really a terrible message to send our kids.
Yeah. Some of the folks that I know that have the most toys, if you will, are those welders that making $80 an hour. I mean, it can be a good life. It can be a very fulfilling life. You get to make something with your hands, and it's something that, not everybody is fit, or I should say fit, is made to sit in an office. Some people need to have more activity in their day-to-day lifestyle to be happy. And so we do need to, show those as viable alternatives. I'd love, to see some of the girls in my daughter's school go into, become an electrician or a welder or whatever that is, because it's a field that can be very rewarding. It's very hands-on, and you can build yourself a very nice life.
As it stands right now in those areas, and in many areas, including southeastern Wisconsin, there are more positions than there are people to fill those positions. That's been a problem for at least the last 5 to 10 years, as I've been watching kids graduate from school, as I've been investing in real estate in the area, trying to find people in skilled trades that can actually get things done. We found this last little real estate boom that the cost to get anything done went way up as soon as everybody rejoined the workforce, because there just aren't a lot of people who have those skills. And like you said, Cole, there aren't the classes. There aren't the classes in the schools to teach kids anything from swinging a hammer to soldering a circuit together. And when you look at our country historically, it was only a small percentage of people that were sitting in offices making decisions, getting things done. And now it seems that that's what everybody wants to do. And to what you said, James, not everybody's suited to do that.
Well, everyone wants to be the next .com or website builder or e-commerce site builder or whatever it is, and kind of have that instant success. I mean, when you see the Zetterbergs of the world, sorry, that's hockey.
Yeah, well, Zuckerberg, they both hit their goal just in a different way.
So the Zuckerbergs of the world, they come up, they spend a couple years in school, they have a good idea as a sophomore, and it goes to prime time, and they're billionaires. And so everyone wants to do that. You see that, oh, isn't that easy? Well, it's a lot harder than it looks, number one. And number two, it's still, again, not suited for everyone. They're called unicorns for a reason.
You might as well tell your kid that he should be working on getting into the NBA or the NFL while you're at it, because all of those are such rarities.
You should hear it when I explain to people that I started an electronics manufacturing shop called Millennium Electronics, and I was mopping the floors there as I, got out on a work program from high school when I started out. And I took night classes and worked up, through it, wave solder operations, pick and place, the whole 9 yards. And when you tell people that, by the time I was 20, I had over 100 people working for me at that same location. A lot of them go, oh, what was your degree in? What was your bachelor's in? What was your master's in? I said, no, I was 20 years old. I was taking night classes at the community college. It's people right away think any kind of success is tied to a 4-year or a 6-year degree.
And of course, you went later on to get the degree.
I did. I did later on in my life here. I was very successful working with an alternative fuel company, actually for automotive, James. and we sold the company to Dynamic Fuel Systems, and I went back to school and finished a degree in economics from Loyola in Chicago.
It was an interesting choice that after having an engineering background, a mechanical background, that you choose economics to pursue your degree in. What made you decide to go that direction?
Economics is pretty much used in everything and anything. It's supply versus demand. It's no matter what business you're in, from automotive to medical and military, you're going to use economics on a daily basis.
Now, our military has also been really dependent on manufacturing abroad for quite a while, and I think you're doing some exciting things in the area of military as well. And I don't know if you can tell us or not, because you just mentioned military, but is there anything that you can tell us about military manufacturing coming back to the United States?
Well, by law, some of the manufacturing for military does have to be done in the U.S., but they get around some of that by having sub-assemblies done overseas. For me, I can go into just one portion of it, which is kind of advanced composites, carbon fibers, carbon Kevlars, things like that, are being more and more researched and more work done in the U.S. here. And it's a trickle-down effect from that into the automotive industry also. And I'm sure James can even can share of their research and their work into alternative materials and composite materials, because every auto manufacturer in the entire world now will have to get a grip on it and will have to utilize it.
Yeah, we've seen a big trend. A lot of composite work coming out of Europe, but primarily in the military space coming out of Israel. And we've seen many of these companies transition to the U.S. And so a lot more research is being done globally on lightweighting, as well as for just structural integrity for that lightweighting. And so we're looking at a number of projects within our realm in automotive to do just that. So not only reduce the weight of the vehicle, which extends our range, but also give it better characteristics of protection for the occupant. So we've seen the glorious fires that, happened to Tesla early on, or some of the other battery propelled products early on. They've solved most of those problems.
You're not looking to duplicate any of those problems, are you?
We do not want to duplicate any of those problems. So a little blast shield between the two layers sure would help mitigate that problem. And that's directly from military application. I mean, they're looking for the same protections, obviously for a much more massive intensity of hit. But it's really that technology is starting to migrating in two ways, from the military application into industry. And then they're turning around and asking industry to help them manufacture more expeditiously those materials. And so it's a kind of a two-way street. And we're looking at that benefit, in my case, for both the protection side coming down from the military technology, and then us applying it in a more rapid fashion, and we can feed that back towards those kinds of applications.
Well, it certainly is a deep and multifaceted and exciting subject. The bottom line is that the two of you are creating jobs here in the United States at a time when we're going to be needing them, at a time when everybody is screaming about unemployment and watching the numbers skyrocket. And you're going to be replacing service sector jobs with some skilled jobs that people are going to be able to make careers out of. And I really applaud the both of you for putting your brain power to work to accomplish that, because it's something that is so desperately needed. I just wanted to tell people one more time for you, James, before we get to the top of the hour, if you want to take a look at these vehicles, and they are pretty, you can go to HerculesEV.com. That's Hercules, kind of like yours truly when you're thinking about my physique. HerculesEV.com. And Cole, is there a website where people can look at your products, or is that still a work in process as we speak?
My largest client that we work with, which I'm on their website, is Lumoptic. You can look up lumoptic.com, which is LUMOPTIK.com.
Fantastic. Both of you, thank you very much for coming onto the show. It's exciting to hear this and see this, and of course, know that there are jobs coming back to the United States, and even more importantly, to the Midwest. And I look forward with talking to the two of you more, and I hope that you consider southeastern Wisconsin when you're looking at some of these operations, because we have a bright, skilled workforce.
You're listening
Thanks.
to AM 1050 WLIP.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Kenosha. Streaming live at WLIP.com.